Now, let me time out here. For those of you that read Chronicles of Narnia, the second movie's coming out, Prince Caspian.
Can't wait to sing it.
I reread it this week just to kind of freshen up on it. And they did this in Chronicles of Narnia. Same thing what Israel and the Philistines are doing. In order to save on bloodshed, instead of both armies coming and fighting, the armies would pick their strongest guy, and those two would fight, and whoever won that battle then would have dominion, and they would win, and the whole army, and it would save blood loss. Same thing in Chronicles of Narnia. You see, I won't give you the name of the bad guy, but the good guy, which is Prince Peter, they fight it out, and the winner would win the entire war. So the same thing's happening here in the Bible. Philistines and Israel. Who do they get to represent the Philistines? Goliath, yes. No, Prince Caspian. No. Great. You can just see.
Wow.
How was church tonight? We spoke about a lion and something. No. Focus, okay? Thank you, Barry Hill. Appreciate it. No. Goliath. Everyone say Goliath.
Goliath.
Goliath was a giant of a man. 9 feet tall. The tip of his spear was like a 10-pound bowling ball. This is a big boy, okay? This is a big man. Day after day, he would come out and taunt the Philistines. Those of you who say Dave and the Giant Pickle, just like that, okay? Now, come out over and over, taunting them. Who will fight me, okay? All that. And who did they get to fight this Goliath? Technically no one. Technically, they were scared. Okay, they were very, very scared. In fact, Saul was hiding in his tent. A spirit of fear came over Saul. It locked him tight. He couldn't move. He was sucking his thumb. Just like in Disney's portrayal of Robin Hood. I'm just spitting them out. I don't know where this is coming from. Mommy. Okay. Anyways. So Saul is gridlocked with fear. David steps into the scene. Now check this out. Look at it in verse. Look at chapter 17, and look at verse 29. Actually, verse 28. The oldest brother heard David speaking, and says to David, "Why did you come down here?" Can you just? How many of you have older siblings? Like they pick on you and stuff like that, you know? I'll be honest, I was terrible. I'm the oldest of 3. To this day, my brother still brings it up. When I sneeze, my brother's like this tall, so those of you that are older than your brother and sister, be nice to them because they will outgrow you one day. And so my brother's this tall, and he's buff and all that. But even to this day, if I'm starting to sneeze at the dinner table or something, I'll be like, he'll no, don't do it, no. And he'll flash back because when I was younger and we were younger, I would pin him down when I had to sneeze, and I just sneeze all over his face. I'd be like, "Who's you? Yeah, who's you? Yeah." I was evil. Do not do that and get caught.
He got sick of it.
Now here's the thing. So the older brother's like, "Listen, Squirt, what you doing here?" And David responds, look at verse 29. "What have I done now? Get off my case. What's wrong?" David was obeying Dad. Jesse said, "Son, go take some food to your other brothers." And he says, "Okay." And he rises up the next morning and goes and takes food. And just by obeying, he gets picked on by his brothers. What have I done now? But while he's hearing, he hears Goliath taunting. "Come out and fight." So David goes to Saul. He says, "Hey, check it out, Saul. I will fight Goliath." I will fight Goliath, okay? And Saul says, after much persuasion, because David plays his heart, right? Yes. Spirit of fear leaves. And he says, "Okay, if you're going to fight, you're going to need some armor." So what does Saul do? Saul gives him his own armor. It doesn't work. But I want you to look at this. Look at verse 40 of chapter 17. Actually, we'll back up to 39 to set the stage. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. In other words, What the Bible's saying is David was unfamiliar. Everyone say unfamiliar.
Unfamiliar.
This was something new. This was something different. Unfamiliar. Was not tested. It's not that they were so big that they were uncomfortable and he just couldn't do it. He was not used to. He was not trained. He had not tested and proven this armor. Verse 40. Then he took, everyone, when you see words that relate to David, say them out loud with me. Well, the first one's his, okay? So David took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had. And he had his sling in his hand, and he drew. Now, what the point of saying all this is God is going very drastic. He's like, okay, I want to prove a point to you guys. David was not familiar with other people's armor. He was familiar with what God had given him. His sling. He did the stones. He prepared his slingshot. Now, I want us to set the stage in this because I want you to see, we all know the story, at least we should. David goes out, smooth stone, kills Goliath, chops off his head. It's an awesome story. Now, I want us to talk for a second, and if you're taking notes, here's the title of my message. Change is like a slinky.
Slinky. Slinky.
Okay. Change is like a slinky. Couple things I want to throw out to you. Change is about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.